This session I have structured like we will try to start with answering the question why should we use teamwork? Why is it better for us to work in teams than to work alone as individuals? The second question I wanted to address is what makes team function? What is the important parts in our teamwork that decides if we are if the work would be a success or not? What can we do when we get problems in the teams? Are there any solutions, or what kind of problems can we hit on when we work in teams? So, starting with why do we need teamwork? Why is it better for us to work in teams than by ourselves? The first thing is when we work in teams, when we work in groups or together as pairs, but especially when we work in teams, we get something called synergy. And synergy is what makes the sum bigger than the parts. It's what makes 2 + 2 5 and not 4. Synergy, if we think about synergy, is we think we are at a meeting, we have a problem to solve, and some of our leaders have called a meeting. We sit together in a room and ponder on what solutions could we have to this problem. Perhaps one of us will get some idea how we could do it. So it's like, oh yeah, we could do it like this. Yeah, perhaps that was not so good idea. But at the same time, someone else listening to that not so good idea will come up with another idea. Perhaps not like this, but if we do it like this. And that will give the third person an idea, and the fourth and the fifth. And eventually someone gets this big solution for the problem. In Donald Duck, when you have a little idea, a small idea, it's like this small light bulb. But this idea is like a big big bright light above your head. And that's the really great solution. That's synergy. Because if we think about the team then, whose was the idea? Was it the last person's, the one with the bright light? Or was it perhaps the first ones with the small light bulb? Or is it the whole teams? Because we also had perhaps members that didn't say anything at all. But without the small light bulb, the first idea, all the other ideas wouldn't have come. So in a way we can't say whose idea it is, but without the teams, the team working together, we wouldn't have had the idea at all, not the solution at least. Okay, we could have solved the problem sitting in our own small rooms by ourselves, but probably the solution would have been like the small light bulbs. The second thing that we do or why we have teamwork is that we have some chore that's we have to do something that's too much for one individual to do. It could perhaps be that we need too much information too much information for only one person to gather. It's like when you have a test or something, you have to read perhaps 5 books for your test. It's better then to read all the 5 books by yourself, or to get together with 4 other friends and read one book really good and teach each other, because you get more information if you work together. Or it could be that in what we are going to do, there is so many different functions that one person can't do all the functions, all the things we have to do. Perhaps we don't even have the knowledge to do them, or at least the time span is so that we have to do the same functions with the same things at the same time. And of course, at least some of us can do many things at the same time, but none of us can be at different places at the same time. And also, if we think about responsibilities, perhaps the responsibility is so large, it's so huge that we can't put it on only one person. We have to share it. That's why in many companies today we don't have this individual manager that's responsible for everything, but we have these management teams, because then they can share the responsibility for what they do. Or it could also be that the thing is too difficult for one individual to do. It could be complicated, that there is a need of so many different perspectives that we can't, as individuals, we can't be, we can't have the competence to know all the different perspectives. If you think about hospitals, or we have these teams with medical doctors, nurses, different therapeutes and things like that, because all need to have the different perspective. It's the same in companies. We perhaps need teams where we have marketing, we have management, we have even customers, we have accounting, we have R&D and many different perspectives on the same thing we are working on. Different competencies when we think about knowing. We have different knowledge, and we have different educations. We have different levels of knowledge in a team. And sometimes we have problems that we really need to have some kind of social thinking to be able to solve them. Sometimes when you have a problem, it's like you are thinking by yourself. You are perhaps not sleeping in nights and wondering how you could solve it. Then you meet a friend, perhaps on coffee or something, and you start to tell the friend about the problem. And at the same time, when you are telling the friend about the problem, you get the answer. Yeah, but I could do this one. Although the friend hasn't even answered you anything. But only to tell it out loud helps you to think about different solvings. And often when we do work, and in workplaces, we do teamwork only to promote the work climate, because usually it's so much more motivating and fun to do things together with other people than to do it by yourself. So teamwork is also a good way to promote the work climate and the social climate at a workplace. Today, teamwork is something like a buzzword, and it has been it for a long time already. If you look at work ads or something like that, in almost every there is something about teamwork, that you should be able to work in teams, or we are a project organization, or you need to have good cooperation skills or something like that. So I think today it's more like almost that you can't do anything without doing teamwork. But I think that sometimes it's like too much, because there is a lot of things that we do even better without teamwork than with teamwork. So why then not to do teamwork? Of course, the first thing is that we shouldn't do teamwork only because it's trendy now. Because I think that a lot what we do on workplaces when we do teamwork is really not, we really not don't have the need for doing teamwork when we do it. Then in teamwork, it's not easy to work in teams. Usually when we work in teams, it's more problems with the teamwork itself than what we are doing. It's like more problems on a social level than on a functional level. So if there is a risk for subversive conflicts, or if the risk is high, then perhaps it's better not to do, at least not in that kind of team. These conflicts, I know you are have been talking, or you will be talking with Annika about conflicts, and a lot of conflicts are really good because they will lead to progress, but these kinds of conflicts does not lead to progress. And usually these conflicts is perhaps more on interaction level or individual level. Usually it's something that's going on between two persons or a few persons. Perhaps we have two persons that really want to lead the team. That kind of conflict. Also, if it's really important that we have this kind of holistic view of what we are doing, when we have the need that we have to have someone who needs, who have to know everything about everything what we do. A few years ago, or perhaps about 10 years ago, in management we were talking a lot about that we should have a helicopter view. That's what when the manager had to know everything about what's happening. And if what we are doing is of that kind, that's important that we have this kind of holistic view, then at least the way we put together the team should be in a different way than in a normal team. Also, if there is a need of really specialization, if we have to have people that, or we have to have knowledge or someone who knows everything about nothing, that really knows those small things. It's like I have a friend, she's doing her PhD now, and she is studying frogs. I really don't know if it's only one kind of frog or if she are studying different kinds of frog, but frogs and their night view, how their eyes react in the dark. So she knows really everything about how frogs' eyes function in dark. Okay, you can think that, is that important? Yes, it can be really important. In this case, the results from her study can be used when they are trying to solve problems with human eyesight and human eyesight in dark. So in the case when we really need to have some special knowledge, then it's better to do it at least in part individually. And perhaps the most important one, and the one that we do most wrong in work life today, is that we do teamwork also when we have easy tasks. If we have an easy task, teamwork doesn't save time. It's the opposite. If we have complicated and difficult or large tasks, then it saves time to do it as teamwork, but not if we have easy tasks. And that has to do with the team dynamic, which we will look into later. So I said earlier that it's not easy to work in teams. It could be fun and it's motivating, and you learn a lot from working in teams, but it could also be really frustrating, and usually that has to do with the challenges, and perhaps most with the challenge of diversity in teamwork, because diversity, that's why we are doing teamwork, because we want to get the good points from diversity. But if we do have diversity, it also means that everyone is different, and if everyone is different, nobody is like you, but we always have our own perspective. We always think that people will think or feel like we do it ourselves. So if nobody is like me in a team, perhaps nobody agree with me, or only the half of the team will agree with me. And we have to negotiate all the time. And perhaps even use some kind of team politics to get our ideas through. And especially people don't do things as I do. Me and my husband, we are really different. I'm like more a practical, active person, and he's a logical and reflective person. But we like to do things together. We build a lot of things together. And during our years together, we have learned how to work together And it's like, for example, we build a house, and we will build 2 doors. Then it's easy, because then I can do the one door and he does the other door. So we can do it how we want to. If I do a door, it's like I'm putting the small lists around the door, and I will do it like this, that I will look at the lists, I will measure how long they would be, I saw the lists, and I will put it up, and oh yeah, there was something wrong. I have to take it down again and saw it again and put it up again. My husband, he does the same thing in another way. He first goes and buys some machine, because he's a man, if he doesn't have it already. Then he will sit down, take a cup of coffee. He will start to do some sketches, to count the angles and things like that. Then he would he would measure it. He would again sit down and figure out how to do it best. After a long while, he will take the lists and saw them with the machine, of course, and put them up, and that's done. We did it in quite different ways, but the funny thing is that both doors are as good as the other, and it's even so that the time span when we work is the same. Because I have to do it, perhaps I will run around a lot and perhaps have to do it a few times, but then he will have some more cups of coffee and sit still for a lot longer time than me. And if we think about the teamwork, that's one of the important things we have to figure out. How should we do this? Because I want to do it my way and you want to do it your way. In diversity, people don't think like you. Some people are like, oh, I got an idea. Oh, look, another idea. Oh, a third idea. And the others are like, oh, yeah, I have to sleep a night and think about it. Perhaps tomorrow or on Monday, because I need the time. People don't feel like you. For someone, taking part in this project is perhaps the greatest thing they have had. It's the best job they have ever had. For another, perhaps they wanted something else, but they didn't get it, so they have to take part in this project. For someone, it's the first time they are working together in a team, and for some other one, it's like almost boring. Yeah, yet another teamwork. It's like every second week, it's a new team. And people don't react like you do. You see it very well when we are talking about happiness or frustration, or if people are angry. Someone, when they are really happy, they have been winning on the lottery or something like that, or they will be have a raise in payment. It's like they are jumping and laughing and shouting and singing, and they are really, really happy. And another one, it's like you just see that they are like a little bit smiling. So is there a difference in how happy they are? Is the first one much more happier? No, they are only reacting differently. It's the same with anger. When people get angry, some people are like shouting and throwing things and slamming doors and things like that. And you think, oh, he got really angry. And the other one doesn't say anything. Perhaps you can see that there are a little bit more wrinkles on them, but nothing more. So you think, oh, that was easy. He didn't react at all. But in a month, you try to figure out or think about, why doesn't he speak to me anymore? So in a theme, we have a lot of people who all react in different ways. And to be able to work together, we should learn how people react so that we can function together. So, if we then have this project and we should start a project team, what do we need to do? The first thing we should do is decide or think about, do we really need a team for this project? Or is this kind of these easy tasks, or do we need some kind of other constellation than a team? Is it like a project more for work group or something like that? So do we need a team? And if we decide that we need a team, then we should think about what are the objectives for the project as whole and for this team. Because usually projects need many different kinds of teams. So what are the objectives for this team? Deciding on the objectives gives us an opportunity to decide, do we need a small team or do we need a large team? If this is a project where we need a lot of ideas, where we need a lot of information, there is a lot of work, perhaps we need a larger team. Or is it a project where it's really important that people on the team agree, that we have to get to an agreement to be able to progress? Then we have to have smaller teams, because you already know, if you have been working in some group work or teamwork, only to decide when to have the next meeting. It's easy if we are only 2. If we are 4, it's a little bit harder to decide when can we meet, when are you free, because people have a lot of other things to do also. But if we are 10, it's almost impossible. It's like in courses when we have to move a lecture, to find a date that suits everyone. That's impossible, because the groups are so large. And then, okay, we have the objectives and we know about the size. So who should be on the team? What kind of competencies do we need to have on the team? What kind of knowledge do we have to have? What kind of experiences do we have to have on the team? And in this kind of team, who is a good team member, and who, if we already have on a workplace, we will use those who are already hired and work on this company. Who of those are good team members in this kind of team? And what decides who is a good team member? How should a good team member be? And also, how to attract team members and good team members, and where do we take them, externally or internally? Do we need to hire more new team members, and where should we start with looking for the right kind of people? Is it in the universities, in schools, or is it even with our competitors? Or where should we start with finding them? Because usually, of course, those who are really competent, who have really good experience and knowledge, the best team people are, of course, already connected to some other teams. They are not like sitting at home waiting for us to call. They are probably connected to several other teams. So why should they want to be with our team more than with the other teams? What about the time span then? What is the time span for the project? And if you think about the objectives of this team, what is the time span for the teamwork? When should it start? When do we need the result of the teamwork? And how much time do this team need? Usually in project teams today, when you talk with people working on project teams, usually they have too little time to get to the results that they would like to get. And then what about team management? Usually when we are talking about teams, and especially when students discuss teams, they usually start with discussing the team manager. But in the best teams, we seldom have a team manager. Perhaps we have someone that has the official name of team manager, but if we think about the teamwork, usually in those teams we don't have a manager. It's more like they are self-managing, as we say. So everyone is managing the team together. And of course, what problems can we see that may arise with this project team? Is it perhaps, does it have to do with the time span? Does it have to do with the members? What happens if one of the team members quit? What will we do then? What will we do if the team fails? in order to still success with the project. So that we, in a way, in forehand, look into what can happen, so we are prepared for also for the problems with the team. Now about team performance and how team work. This is taken from Katzenbach and Smith, and if you do something on teams, this is the books by Katzenbach and Smith that you really should have in your reference list. That's where you should start to find your references. About the team performance, you can have a lot of different kind of teams, and here we see effectiveness and performance. How effective are the different kinds of teams and how do they perform? So first we see the work group. A work group differs from a team in a way that a work group includes different individuals doing their own speciality, and in the end we come together, the different parts of the work group come together and put together what we are doing for results. So in a way, in a work group, it's almost in the end that you perhaps need to have this cooperation and the skills for cooperating. It's more important that you do what you are a specialist in than anything else. So that's the first. A work group isn't so effective, but they can their performance can be quite good. The next kind of team is a pseudo team. A pseudo team doesn't perform at all. Okay, is it effective or not? A pseudo team is more like when I was talking about that in many places we have this kind of teamwork only because it's trendy. It's like someone has decided that this should be done in a team, and those people should be included in the team, but we don't have real objectives. We perhaps the team members hasn't been chosen there because what they know, their skills, but on some other measures. So in a way you can say that this kind of pseudo team isn't a team at all. And as no one knows what to do, they can't perform at all. The next we have is a potential team. This team is a team that's been put together that have some kind of structure, but there is something missing. Perhaps it could be that this team has been put together in a proper way, that they have the diversity, they have good people and things like that. They are work together good, but they don't have the clear objectives. They are a little bit. They really don't know in a good way what to do. So this kind of team have the potential to be a good team, but they aren't yet. And this kind of team can be as good as a work group, or the other way around. As I said, perhaps it's better then to have a work group than a team that doesn't perform as good as it could. Then we have the real team and the high performance team. In both these teams, all the right things has been done. We have a team that knows what they are going to do. They know each other. They can work together. It's the right size. We have the right competencies. We have the right personalities. They are really working together. The difference between a real team and a high performance team is about much about the responsibility, because in a high performance team it's usually so that everyone takes responsibility also for each other, and you could even say that they are more than working together. They are really working as an entity. You don't see this kind of team so often, but often when you see these kind of things, it could be like a development R&D team in a company could be like this. And usually also in the beginning, when they start to do innovation, an innovative team could be like this. That they are really motivated and they really work together and they even live what they are doing just now. And that's where the big discoveries is found. The R&D teams that really make the good innovations are usually this kind of high performance teams. Usually it's even so that these teams, these high performance teams, perform even above what was thought of them beforehand. They exceed their objectives. When we put together this kind of team, project team, we should think about first the diversity. So we should have people with heterogenic but supplementary knowledge. Heterogenic knowledge is about that they should know different things. We perhaps should have someone with technical skills. We should have someone with management skills. We should have someone with economical skills. But at the same time, these skills and knowledges should supplement each other and should not be so different that these people can't understand each other. Sometimes, I don't know about you, but at least for me, my husband is an IT teacher, and trying to talk with him about information technology or computers or something like that, it's like talking with an alien. You don't understand anything what he's saying. So when we choose these team members, we should look into that they are not so far in diversity that they can't understand each other. Or if they are, we should give them possibilities to learn from each other as much so that they can understand each other. Then it's the question of personalities, because as I said, the most of the challenges in teamwork has to do with the different team members' personalities and how compatible those are, and how we can deal with people with different personalities than ourselves. When I was talking about conflicts, these perhaps are the hardest conflicts also to solve. So in a good functioning team, we should also have different personalities, because we need perhaps we need someone who has all the ideas, and we need someone who's ready to lead the team, perhaps. But we also need the people that are good listeners. So usually, if you work on a team, you perhaps have the feeling that you have some of the team members that doesn't do anything for the teams. They are only sitting there and they don't contribute with anything. Usually these people are those who are really good to listen, and if you start to listen to them, you will recognize that these are the people that really knows what's going on in the team. So also to have these kinds of personalities. And of course, to have right reward to right assignment for the team, and team rewards is something of the hardest to decide on, because we have this diverse team. So we have perhaps people with different educations, and as we started with in synergy the ideas. So how should we reward ideas and things like that? Should all the team get the same pay, although some of the people there are educated as PhDs, and some other perhaps doesn't have any education at all? Or should we reward something else? And for a team to be efficient, it's important to decide on the right team size. As I said, that what decides the size is the objective, or what we are, the task, what we are going to do. What do we need from this team? And that decides on the size of the team. They say that the ideal size of a team is about 7. So it's 7 plus minus 2, 5 to 9 or something like that. But if we have a team with a lot to do, and we need a lot of informations, or we have a lot of functions, then we need some larger team. And usually also we can do really good with smaller teams than 5 also. So but why they have decided on this 7 plus minus 2 has to do with how our brain works. You know, the count 7 has been something like a sanctuary count, or something like that. In many religions we have this count 7 and things like that, and that's because they say that 7 things is what our brains can manage to remember or to work with at the same time. So if you are going to shop and you need less than 7 things, then it's only to go into the store and take the things. But if you have more than 7, they say that you have to have some way to remember. Someone is writing on a paper or something else. That otherwise you don't remember everything. It's the same about phone numbers and things like that. When I was a kid, all the phone numbers were 5 or 6 numbers, and it was really easy to remember them now. But nowadays no one remembers the telephone numbers anymore because there are so many numbers. This team size has to do with the team relations, because if the team should or if the team can work really good together, all the relationships within the team should be good also. Or let's say that if they aren't, that will hinder us in our work. So you can count the count of relations in a team by using this formula, and as you see, the N counts for team members. So in the first team here, you see that we have 4 different members. We have the one with all the ideas. We have the strategic one who's pointing at the objective we have. And we have this guy that keeps us all in a good mood. And we also have this other guy that will keep us down on earth. It's like, oh no, this will never, we can't afford it, and things like that. In this team with 4 people, we have 6 relations that has to function well. We take the same team and we put 2 members more in it. We have the one who tells all the jokes, and we have the good listener. And only because we put 2 members more in a team, you see that instead of 6 relations, we have 15 relations. So all these 15 relations have to function good for us to be able to have a really good team. And if you think about the 7, so we have already doubled the 7. And you can try to figure out in group works you have, or teams you have been part of, how many members did they have in those teams, and then you count how many relations do they have. When I do this in different organizations, I always have them to do this mathematics and count the relations, and usually they have at least 45 or something relations in the teams they work in. I think the top has been almost 1,500. So you can imagine how easy it is to work in those kinds of teams.